Georgia Department of Corrections says incident is under control and facility is on lockdown. Aerial view of Ware State Prison, used with permission of PrisonInsight.com, Waycross, GA. A disturbance overnight in the Ware State Prison is under control, but not before 2 correctional officers and 2 inmates were injured, according to state officials. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that 2 correctional workers were stabbed. The Georgia Department of Corrections confirmed that an incident took place at the prison that resulted in injuries. Ware County Sheriff Randy Royal was called at 11:07 p.m. Saturday to assist at the prison, according to the Waycross Journal-Herald. The situation is being resolved now, Royal told the newspaper about 2:30 a.m. Sunday. The reporter referenced several Facebook Live videos reportedly made by inmates, one showing a prisoner covered in blood. A Ware State inmate was killed 2 weeks ago in what authorities said was an altercation with another inmate, and the newspaper was told tensions were high in the prison due to COVID-19. GDC records show 22 inmates and 32 employees have tested positive for the virus. News4Jax has received many phone calls during the night from concerned viewers asking about the events that took place in the prison. We are working to learn more about what happened and will update this story as it develops. Copyright 2020 by WJXT News4Jax. All rights reserved. Listen to a recap of the top stories of the day from 9 to 5 Mac. 9 to 5 Mac Daily is available on iTunes and Apple's Podcasts app, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, or through our dedicated RSS feed for Overcast and other podcast players. Sponsored by Direct Mail. Create and send great-looking email newsletters with Direct Mail, an easy-to-use email marketing app for the Mac. Get started for free and save 10% when you sign up for any pricing plan. New episodes of 9 to 5 Mac Daily are recorded every weekday. Subscribe to our podcast in iTunes, Apple Podcast, or your favorite podcast player to guarantee new episodes are delivered as soon as they're available. Stories discussed in this episode. Apple announces fiscal Q3 2020 earnings. Revenue of $59.7 billion. More. Apple removes 30,000 apps from China App Store to comply with regulations for paid games. Apple announces 4-to-1 stock split as shares cross $400 following record Q3 earnings. Apple confirms iPhone 12 will launch a few weeks later than usual. iPhone 12 delay could see 2-stage launch. Enjoy the podcast. Shop Apple at Amazon to support 9 to 5 Mac Daily. Follow Chance, Twitter, at Chance H. Miller. Listen and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Overcast, RSS, Stitcher, Tune in, Google Play. Share your thoughts. Drop us a line at happyhour@9to5mac.com. You can also rate us in Apple Podcasts or recommend us in Overcast to help more people discover the show. FTC, we use income earning auto affiliate links. More. Check out 9 to 5 Mac on YouTube for more Apple news. About the author Chance Miller at Chancemiller. Chance is an editor for the entire 9 to 5 network and covers the latest Apple news for 9 to 5 Mac. Tips, questions, typos to Chance at 9to5mac.com. Chance Miller's favorite gear. Arsenal added another Emirates FA Cup title to their record haul, after a Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang double sealed a 2-1 victory over Chelsea in the final at Wembley. The Gunners came into the Heads-Up FA Cup final with 13 titles to their name, and this victory nudges the North Londoners further ahead in what was their 21st final appearance, another cup record. While Wembley remained empty, the first time there's been no crowd at an FA Cup final in 132 attempts, the cheers from the Arsenal team and staff as they collected the cup on the pitch made this perhaps the most unique title of their lot. Arsenal 2-1 Chelsea. Heads-Up FA Cup final Saturday 1 August 2020. Wembley Stadium connected by EEIT was a first managerial honour for boss Mikel Arteta, with the Spaniard having only returned to the club in January to take over from compatriot Unai Emery, and having previously captained the club to one of those cup victories back in 2014, he becomes the first man to both captain and manage an Arsenal team to an FA Cup title. And Arteta can take plenty of credit in how his side ended what's been an unprecedented campaign in football following the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as his team stuck rigidly to their game plan and exploited Chelsea in all the right areas to seal victory against their London rivals. They had to show their resolve too, as it was Chelsea who started the game with a flourish and could easily have been 2 goals ahead within 10 minutes. Frank Lampard's side began the game with bite and deservedly edged ahead after just 5 minutes through Christian Pulisic. After collecting the ball from Reece James just inside the Arsenal half, the American threaded a pass through to Mason Mount on the left, and when Mount's low centre was backheeled by Olivier Giroud in the box, Pulisic was there to pick it up and clip home past Emiliano Martinez. Chelsea's Christian Pulisic celebrates putting the Blues ahead at Wembley. Pulisic then stung the hands of Martinez moments later with a fierce strike from the edge of the area, as the Blues looked to build on their early advantage. Arsenal rode the storm out, and with Arteta vocally guiding his men from the sidelines, they soon turned the tide and the game back in their favour. Nicolas Pepe had already seen a wonderful strike into the top corner ruled out for an earlier offside, and it wasn't long after that when they drew level. As per Arteta's touchline call-out, the Gunners took advantage of Chelsea's high defensive line, as Kieran Tierney's pass forward for Aubameyang saw the Arsenal captain outpace Cesar Azpilicueta and race into the box, only to be felled by the Blues captain. Aubameyang remained calm to clinically slot home the resulting spot kick and ensure an entertaining first half ended all square. Results of a private survey on Monday showed China's manufacturing activity expanded for the month of July, the fastest pace in nearly a decade, according to records. The Caixin Market Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) came in at 52.8 for July, marking its third straight month of expansion. Companies registered the fast expansions in output and new orders since January 2011 amid reports of firmer customer demand, noted Caixin and IHS Markit in their report of the survey results. As production and demand expanded, measures for purchases and stocks of purchased items both remained strong, said Wang Jie, senior economist at Caixin Insight Group. Economists polled by Reuters had expected Caixin Market Manufacturing PMI to come in at 51.3 for July as compared to 51.2 for June. PMI readings above 50 indicate expansion, while those below that signal contraction. PMI readings are sequential and indicate on-month expansion or contraction. China's manufacturing sector has been battered as factories were shut earlier in the year due to large-scale lockdowns to contain the coronavirus pandemic. Demand was also hit as the virus spread globally. The gauge for new export orders remained in contractionary territory for the seventh consecutive month in July. Although the pace of the contraction slowed, overseas demand remained a drag on overall demand, Wang wrote in a report. While recently there was some resurgence of the virus in parts of China, supply and demand both improved, he added. Overall, flare-ups of the epidemic in some regions did not hurt the improving trend of the manufacturing economy, which continued to recover as more epidemic control measures were lifted, said Wang. However, employment remained weak in July, he said. The private survey showed that policy stimulus is helping the world's second-largest economy in its recovery from the pandemic, said Julian Evans Pritchard, senior China economist at Capital Economics, a consultancy. That is as the gauge for export orders remained low at 48.3. Most of the strength in the gauge for new orders, which came in at 54.4, was therefore due to the rebound in policy-driven domestic demand, Evans Pritchard said in a note after the release of the survey results. The survey data are consistent with our view that policy stimulus has paved the way for a period of above-trend growth in construction and industry, he wrote. In the near term, this should help offset continued weakness in consumption and services activity, allowing the economy as a whole to return to its pre-virus trend by year-end, he added. Official manufacturing survey results released last week also painted a picture of recovery. On Friday, China reported official manufacturing PMI that came in at 51.1 in July as compared to 50.9 in June, beating economists' forecasts of 50.7. The expansion in China's official PMI for the fifth straight month was due to demand for electrical and pharmaceutical goods. Brooks Koepka went for it all as he played out the final holes of the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational on Sunday, and his aggressive decision to try for the win cost him nearly $500,000. After 70 of 72 holes of the tournament had been played, Koepka trailed leader Justin Thomas by 2 strokes. Koepka still had a chance to catch Thomas but needed to either birdie the final 2 holes or hope Thomas slipped up as he turned towards the clubhouse. Nose. 17 and 18 had played as the toughest two holes at TPC Southwind all weekend, but Koepka found a miraculous 40-foot birdie putt on the penultimate hole to give himself a puncher's chance at forcing a playoff. Now just a stroke behind Thomas and forcing a playoff, Koepka moved to the 18th tee ready to push for a birdie. He lined up an aggressive tee shot in an attempt to cut the dog leg of the hole and give him an angle for a dart onto the green with his second shot. Koepka's line was solid, but his drive came up just a bit shorter than it needed to and found water just off of the fairway. After taking a penalty stroke for getting his ball wet, Koepka needed to find a way to hole out from 203 yards in order to force a playoff. To his credit, he again went for it all, sending his shot wide right of the green into a bunker. From there, Koepka would close out with a double bogey on the hole. Entering the 18th tee box, Koepka had been alone in second behind Thomas at 12 under for the weekend. Due to his double bogey on No. 18, he dropped into a four-way tie for second place along with Daniel Berger, Tom Lewis, and Phil Mickelson. The prize money for a solo second would have sent Koepka home with $150,000. Instead, the four-way tie behind Thomas sent each man home with $695,000. It's still a great pay rate for 4 days of work, but for Koepka, his final hole cost him $455,000. Koepka deserves all of the credit in the world for going for the win at the 18th hole. He could have played it safe, kept his ball dry, and walked away as a happy man who was $1 million richer. Instead, he went for it all, and while it didn't work out for him this time, Koepka's fearlessness on the course is one of the reasons he's become one of the most dominant players of his generation. Koepka will get his next shot at the top prize this weekend when he will attempt to win his third straight PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park. Celebrating Vicky Draves, the first female Asian American Olympic champion. Google Doodle for Vicky Draves, celebrating the first Asian American Olympic gold medalist. Vicky Manalo Draves was the most successful member of the U.S. swimming and diving team at the 1948 London Olympics, the only American to win 2 individual gold medals. She was also the first Asian American woman to be an Olympic champion. And yet for decades after her amazing achievements in London, Manalo Draves drifted into relative obscurity. Granted, she was inducted into the International Swimming Hall of Fame in 1969. But in her hometown of San Francisco, she had gone virtually unrecognized and unknown for much of her life. In the first half of the 20th century, when Manalo Draves was growing up, she had to deal with the conscious and unconscious bias of the times, as she was the child of an English mother and a Filipino father. For example, in order to get access to diving facilities at a swimming club in San Francisco, Vicky Manalo was told by her coach to assume her mother's maiden name, Taylor, which would make the members of the club more comfortable, presumably. As Rodel Rodas wrote in this article for the Inquirer.net, if she had represented the Philippines when she won her 2 gold medals, there would have been parks and schools named after her, and monuments of her erected all over the Philippines to celebrate her inspiring victory. Manalo Draves actually got a taste of that kind of adulation when she and her husband coach, Lyle Draves, visited the Philippines after her gold medal victories in London, according to this Central City article. They spent a month in both the capital of Manila and her father's hometown of Orani, Bataan, where she held diving exhibitions in the daytime, and partied in the evenings. It was a wonderful experience. And I dived for the president at the Palace swimming pool, said Vicky Draves. But they kept us up every night nightclubbing until 3 or 4 in the morning, said Lyle Draves. Today, the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame (BASHOF) has not included their double gold medalist from south of Market District, Soma. But fortunately, before Manalo Draves passed away in 2010, she was honored by the San Francisco Recreation and Park Commission, which approved the naming of a park after the Olympic champion. On October 27, 2006, a 2-acre park in the 1000 block of Folsom was dubbed the Victoria Manalo Draves Park. I got some breaks, very much so, said Manalo Draves in this article. And I'd say to any young people, if they have dreams to follow them, see them all the way through no matter what it takes. And always be fair and kind. My grandfather migrated to San Francisco in 1903 to run the Japanese American YMCA for many years. My father was born in J-Town in 1929, 5 years after Vicky Manala was born. Even as others were dying of COVID-19, Rick Wright made phone calls to his business clients. He lifted weights, did push-ups and glided on an elliptical trainer. Late at night, he took his dog on long walks. I never felt sick. Not a cough, wheezing, headache. Absolutely nothing, said 63-year-old Wright of Redwood City, despite testing positive for the virus 40 days straight after being exposed aboard the Diamond Princess cruise last February. 7 months into a pandemic that has killed more than 667,000 people globally, scientists are searching for clues into why infected people like Wright feel just fine. Understanding the mystery of their protection may help suggest targets for vaccines and treatment. These cases also underscore the importance of masks and expanded testing, because asymptomatic people may unwittingly transmit infection to others. The COVID-19 virus seems unprecedented in its spectrum of severity, from innocuous to lethal, said Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Disease. Usually a virus that is good enough to kill you would make almost everybody at least a little bit sick, he said, at this month's first global COVID-19 conference. The nature of the pathogen itself does not seem to explain the person-to-person variability. Among families in the same household, infected by the same virus, people may get profoundly ill, or escape unscathed. Nor does it seem to matter how much virus is circulating in the body. Rather, emerging evidence suggests that a person's immune response, largely influenced by genetics, is what helps determine the severity of illness, say infectious disease experts. To capture our defenses in action, scientists with a UC San Francisco project are driving their van, outfitted with an exam table and a phlebotomy chair, to the homes of newly infected people, collecting samples of mucus, blood, urine and stool. They measure how the body responds as the virus gains a foothold. We're able to look under the hood of what's happening to the immune response, said Dr. Sulji Lee, a UCSF assistant professor of medicine and principal investigator of the CHIRP COVID-19 host immune response pathogenesis study. They've tested 17 people so far, but are aiming to recruit 60. Estimates of the proportion of true asymptomatic cases, people who are infected and never develop symptoms as compared to people who are infected and later fall ill, have ranged from 40% to 45%, said UCSF epidemiologist Dr. George Rutherford. Those cases are challenging to identify because people feel healthy, so don't get tested. But the number could be far higher. During a recent testing blitz in San Francisco's Mission District, where nearly 3,000 people were invited to get swabbed, sick or not, UCSF's Dr. Karina Marquez and her team were startled to discover that 53% of people who tested positive had no fevers or coughs, muscle aches or severe fatigue. They breathed normally. According to reports, Frank Ocean's younger brother, Ryan Bro, has died following a car crash in Thousand Oaks, California. ABC7 confirmed that a fiery accident occurred just after 1:30 a.m. on Sunday. The cause of the deadly crash remains under investigation. The incident took place on Westlake Boulevard where the car was said to be going southbound before straying off the road and striking a tree in the center median. The outlet explained that the single vehicle crash was so intense, it caused the car to split in half. Both of the individuals who were inside the automobile were pronounced dead at the scene by the Ventura County Fire Department, though the names were not confirmed. Clash Music later reported that it was, indeed, Ocean's brother who had been involved in the accident. A friend of Bro's also shared a tribute to him on Instagram, calling him one of the most incredible people she had ever known. As of this writing, Ocean has yet to make any public comment on the matter. Bro's last Instagram post was of him in the passenger side of a car on July 24 with the caption, "Windy City." Bro was 18 years old and was 1 month away from celebrating his birthday on September 1. Bro had a few appearances in some of his brother's music, including one song, Futura Free, where he is heard at the end of the track being interviewed. It's also suspected that Ocean's song, Orion, is about Bro. Lines from the song support this idea, including one in particular that reads, "But promise Big Bro one thing, that you don't go wasting time." As for Ocean, who was set to play at Coachella this year before the pandemic, he has gone through a music career filled with highs, including his debut album called Channel Orange, that won Best Urban Contemporary Album at the 2013 Grammy Awards. He picked up another Grammy Award that same year for his work in collaboration with Kanye West on No Church in the Wild, which also featured Jay-Z and The Dream. One of the tracks on that album, Thinkin' 'Bout You, earned a nomination for Record of the Year. It wasn't until 2016 that he bounced back onto the scene with his second album. Growing up, Ocean moved to New Orleans when he was 5 before moving to Los Angeles. CJ McCollum is sandwiched between two defenders as the Portland Trail Blazers face the Boston Celtics in an NBA game at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon on Tuesday, February 25, 2020. Sean Marr, staff. After falling to the Milwaukee Bucks in their bubble opener on Friday, the Boston Celtics have a chance to bounce back against the Portland Trail Blazers on Sunday afternoon. Here's how to watch, or live stream, the Celtics as they take on Portland. August 2nd vs. Portland Trail Blazers. Start time, 3:30 p.m. TV, ABC, NBC Sports, Boston Online, NBC Sports Online, ESPN, Fubo TV, Hulu Plus Live TV. Here's what the Celtics had to say about bouncing back. Brad Stevens on Jason Tatum's struggles, 2 for 18, 5 points versus Mill. He had the ball a lot in the last 5 minutes of the game. We think he'll always be able to do that. We just think he has a special makeup about him. On a night when he's struggling he can make a huge play, on a night when he's rolling he can make a huge play, because he doesn't get too high or too low. He's special, and that's why I lose no sleep over nights like last night. Tatum on the key to moving on, being able to laugh it off. Can't do nothing about it now, you just gotta focus on the next game, and whether you play good or bad, I think that's always how I approach it. That's just how I approach it. It is what it is. Kemba Walker on his continued minutes restriction, I knew what I was coming into. I've just got to stay positive, and just keep on knowing that it's part of the bigger picture. My minutes will gradually go up game by game depending on how my knee acts after every game. So, I'm feeling good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's practice to learn from my mistakes, and then head back into Sunday and play another one and be better. Marcus Smart on picking up struggling teammates, you just really talk to them. The worst thing to do in that position is to put him down and discourage him, especially since he's putting himself down already, and he's already really critical of himself and criticizing himself more than probably anybody. My job as a leader is to encourage him. On the court, especially on the offensive end, when I see a matchup that I know we need to get him the ball, we gotta give him the ball. If that's posting him up or running plays for him, just really keep him going and keep his mindset up. And on the defensive end, he did have some good defensive clips, and that's all we can ask for. I'm constantly talking to Jason and Jalen, not every night your shot's going to fall, but you can control your effort. That's the one thing you can control, and that's on the defensive end. Use your defense to help get you into a rhythm offensively. Though the storm slowed down, Isaiah's put another burden on communities already hit by other storms and sickness, as officials in the state are working to address surges in coronavirus cases. Vero Beach, Florida, AP. Bands of heavy rain from Isaiah's lashed Florida's east coast Sunday, while officials dealing with surging cases of the coronavirus kept a close watch on the weakened tropical storm. Isaiah's was downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm Saturday afternoon, but was still threatening to bring heavy rain and flooding as it crawled just off Florida's Atlantic coast. Don't be fooled by the downgrade, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis warned at a news conference after the storm, pronounced EESIEEAs, spent hours roughing up the Bahamas. Upper-level winds took much of the strength out of Isaiah's, said Stacy Stewart, senior hurricane specialist at the National Hurricane Center in Miami. The storm also slowed down considerably. We were expecting a hurricane to develop and it didn't, Stewart said Sunday. It's a tale of two storms. If you live on the west side of the storm, you didn't get much. If you live east of the storm, there's a lot of nasty weather there. Florida is on the west side of Isaiah's. Authorities closed beaches, parks and virus testing sites, lashing signs to palm trees so they wouldn't blow away. DeSantis said the state is anticipating power outages and asked residents to have a week's supply of water, food and medicine on hand. Officials wrestled with how to prepare shelters where people can seek refuge from the storm if necessary, while also safely social distancing to prevent the spread of the virus. In Palm Beach County, about 150 people were in shelters, said emergency management spokeswoman Lisa de la Rionda. The county has a voluntary evacuation order for those living in mobile or manufactured homes, or those who feel their home can't withstand winds. We don't anticipate many more evacuations, she said, adding that the evacuees are physically distant from each other and are wearing masks, due to the virus. In Indian River County, north of West Palm Beach, Florida, emergency shelters were clearing out Sunday after Isaias was downgraded to a tropical storm. Officials told TC Palm newspapers that 38 people registered at 3 schools used as shelters. Those areas now must be cleaned to ensure no traces of the coronavirus remain as teachers and staff report Monday to prepare for the upcoming school year. No one checked in with COVID-19 symptoms. Temperature checks were done at the door, officials said, and isolation rooms were designated in case anyone came in with symptoms. The storm's maximum sustained winds declined steadily throughout Saturday, and were at 65 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour, at 2 p.m. EDT Sunday, the U.S. National Hurricane Center said. The storm's center was located about 45 miles, 75 kilometers, east-southeast of Vero Beach, Florida. Surfers in Delray Beach enjoy the waves, Sunday, August. At the close of business Sunday, it seemed the Bruins would have their ace for Wednesday's game against Tampa Bay, the second of 3 for seeding in the East. Rask was deemed unfit to participate on Sunday because he was not feeling well, a decision made Saturday evening. He also dealt with a broken finger on his catching hand last month. Feeling better, Cassidy said pregame of his netminder, who led the league in goals against average 2.12, and was second in save percentage .929. Hopefully he gets back on the ice as soon as Monday. Rask led the Bruins out of the tunnel in their previous 76 playoff games, a streak that ended Sunday. It was the league's 8th longest run as a team's postseason starter. The only active goalies with longer streaks, Henrik Lundqvist 128, Pekka Rinne 89, Jonathan Quick 85, and Marc-Andre Fleury 79. Dan Vladar, who has 0 NHL games under his belt, wore the backup's ball cap. Cassidy, leaning on advice from assistant Bob Asensa, All Bruins coach Jay Leach, goalie coach Mike Dunham, and GM Don Sweeney, said Vladar was a little bit ahead of Max Lagacé toward the end of Providence's season. 3 Bruins made their postseason debuts: Anders Bjork 2 shots, -2 in 13:01, Jack Studnicka 3 shots in 11:36, and Jeremy Lauzon 2 penalties, -1 in 13:39. Marchand returns. Brad Marchand, who left Thursday's 4-1 exhibition loss to Columbus with suspected lower body injury, moved well and skated a healthy 21:01. But while he and his top-line cohorts Patrice Bergeron and David Pastrnak combined for 9 shots and 16 attempts, they found little in the way of quality. Winger Nick Ritchie, working his way back from a suspected injury, is a possibility to play Wednesday against Tampa Bay. Andre Kays is not likely to be ready that soon. Cassidy said Kays, who arrived in Toronto on Saturday, would need a few more days to get acclimated. He's feeling better. He seems fine. He's skating well, Cassidy said. We want to get him back in there, but we want to give him a fair chance to succeed. Both wingers are expected to practice Monday and Tuesday. Add another playoff game to Zdeno Chara's ledger, 183. Tied for 33rd all-time. The big man skated a lower than usual 16:57, leading the team in PK minutes 3:17. The Flyers, who finished 4th in the East 4-1, 2-1-7, 89 points, had won 9 games in a row before the Bruins stifled them, 2-0, in Philly on March 10, both teams' final game before the pause. The Bruins reported for work wearing black t-shirts with social justice messages, and black masks with blacked-out Spoked B logos. Chara's shirt had a portmanteau, "Racism," while Bergeron's said, "End racism." Marchand, Pasternak, Cassidy and several others wore, "Listen, Learn, Change." Cassidy said the team decided to wear the shirts. "We're trying to get behind eradicating racism, listening, learning, educating, changing the social injustices," he said. Toronto, Montreal coach Claude Julien figured his young, largely inexperienced Canadians had a real opportunity to grow after being given a second life by the NHL's restart. The Canadians did that, and a whole lot more, Saturday night, with a big hand from a couple veterans. Jeff Petrie, Ann Arbor, Michigan State, scored at 13:57 of overtime. Carey Price made 39 saves and the Montreal Canadiens beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2 on Saturday night in Game 1 of their best-of-5 qualifying round series. "Carey was huge throughout that whole first period and gave us a chance," Julien said. "He made some big saves throughout the whole game, but the first period is where he allowed us to stay in the game." Petrie, who along with Price are two of the Canadiens' oldest players at 32, picked up a loose puck in the right face-off circle and ripped a shot past goalie Matt Murray. "We're playing an experienced team," Julien said. "They've won Stanley Cups, they know how to win, and we have what we have. The only chance we have is that we play on our toes and not on our heels." The game was played at empty Scotiabank Arena in the NHL's return following a 142-day absence after COVID-19 ground the sport to a halt. Jonathan Drouin had a chance to win it for Montreal in overtime on a penalty shot when he was held on a breakaway, but the puck rolled off the end of his stick and dribbled wide. Pittsburgh's Connor Sheary also failed on a penalty shot with 3:03 left in regulation, missing the net. The game was the first NHL postseason contest with 2 penalty shots since March 29, 1923. 19-year-old Jesperi Kotkaniemi and 20-year-old Nick Suzuki scored to give 12th-seeded Montreal a 2-0 lead early in the second period. "It gives us a lot of confidence," Suzuki said. "A lot of people didn't see us as contenders. We want to show them we can compete with anyone. This is a good first step." The 5th-seeded Penguins rallied midway through the period with Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust connecting in a 2:39 span. "We've just got to heed the lessons," Rust said. "We did some really good things." Montreal killed off a 5-on-3 power play for 1:32 early in the third period despite sustained pressure. Both teams then failed to connect on 5-on-4 advantages, with Pittsburgh's Yevgeny Malkin coming closest from the slot. Murray stopped 32 shots. More NHL playoffs: Chicago 6, Edmonton 4. Rookie winger Dominik Kubalik had 2 goals and 3 assists to help the Blackhawks beat the host Oilers in Game 1 of the best-of-5 qualifying round series. The game was played in front of tarps, massive video screens, and empty seats at Rogers Place, which is hosting the 12 Western Conference teams as the NHL completes the 2019-20 season. Kubalik scored twice in the second period, the first goal chasing starter Mike Smith from the Oilers' net, 5 goals on 23 shots, and the second getting past Mikko Koskinen to make it 6-2. A multi-agency search and rescue effort for 8 service members, likely trapped in a military vehicle on the bottom of the ocean just off San Clemente Island, has become a recovery mission. All 8 service members are presumed deceased, Marine Corps officials announced early Sunday, August 2. The 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit and the Amphibious Ready Group leadership determined there was little probability of a successful rescue given the circumstances of the incident. On Saturday, August 1, officials announced a Navy ship had come to help. HOS Dominator, typically used for submarine rescue, has joined the effort, said Major Diane Rosenfeld, spokesperson for the Marines. The ship, part of the Undersea Rescue Command, was on routine training operations near the island when it was diverted to aid in the search. The crew is using a remotely operated vehicle to survey the ocean floor near the amphibious assault vehicle wreckage. Efforts will focus on finding the Marines and sailor. As of Sunday, the ship was operating off the west coast of the island. "It is with a heavy heart that I decided to conclude the search and rescue effort," said Colonel Christopher Bronzy, 15th MEU commanding officer. The steadfast dedication of the Marines, sailors and Coast Guardsmen to the persistent rescue effort was tremendous. The 7 Marines and 1 sailor have been missing since Thursday, July 30, when their seafaring vehicle, known as an AAV, took on water and sank during a routine training exercise near the island. The Navy-owned Channel Island is about 50 miles west of Orange County and 20 miles south of Catalina Island. It is the only ship-to-shore live fire training range in the nation. The AAV and 12 others had just left the island's beaches and were heading out to the USS Somerset, an amphibious transport dock. They had spent the day training on the island. 8 Marines managed to climb out of the 26-ton vehicle as it sank and were floating in their life vests. They were rescued by crew members from a nearby AAV and a rescue boat. Crews could only watch as the 26-ton vehicle quickly sank, said Lieutenant General Joseph Osterman on Friday, August 1. 1 Marine died and 2 others were in critical condition at Scripps Memorial Hospital in La Jolla, but on Friday were moved out of the hospital's intensive care unit. Friday night, the remaining 7 Marines and a Navy corpsman remained missing. I would like to thank everyone for their heartfelt condolences on behalf of our Marines, sailor and family members affected by this tragic mishap, said General David Berger, Commandant of the Marine Corps on Saturday, August. Berger was at Camp Pendleton on Friday to oversee a change of command ceremony with the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, which oversees the units involved in the training. Let me add my condolences and prayers to theirs, and ask everyone to keep the families of these service members in their thoughts. Sign up for our COVID-19 newsletter to stay up to date on the latest coronavirus news throughout New York City. New York Mets slugger Yoenis Cespedes is nowhere to be found in Atlanta and was not with the team for Sunday's game against the Braves. As of game time, Yoenis Cespedes has not reported to the ballpark today. He did not reach out to management with any explanation for his absence, the Mets released in a statement. Our attempts to contact him have been unsuccessful. Prior to Sunday's matinee against the Braves, Mets manager Luis Rojas told the media that Cespedes was giving the day off while he was mired in a sizable 4-game slump, going 2 for his last 15 with 9 strikeouts. Such news immediately brings concern about Cespedes' well-being and safety. Players simply don't disappear and cannot be found by their teams. The Mets believe there is no reason to believe that the 34-year-old's safety is at risk, per multiple reports. On the surface, it makes no sense to believe that considering the Mets did not divulge any further on their players' whereabouts. Rumors also began to trickle out that Cespedes could have possibly opted out for the remainder of the 2020 season due to coronavirus concerns. Such rumors have been unfounded at the time of this article's publishing. Regardless, the statement from General Manager Brodie Van Wagenen and the Mets on the situation is an irresponsible one considering it sheds no light on their star players' whereabouts or potential health and safety concerns. Lake Buena Vista, Florida. WAFB. After winning all 3 of its scrimmages in the NBA bubble, the Pelicans have lost the first 2 games that counted, the latest being a 23-point blowout at the hands of the Clippers. New Orleans 28-38, fell 126-103 to Los Angeles 45-21. Paul George sank 8 three-pointers and finished with 28 points on a night when the Clippers made a total of 25 shots from beyond the arc to break a franchise record. Kawhi Leonard added 24 points. Rookie Nickeil Alexander-Walker led the Pelicans with 15 points off the bench. Brandon Ingram added 14 points. Derek Favors chipped in 12 points and pulled down 9 rebounds. Zion Williamson was only 3 of 7 from the floor for 7 points in a limited 14 minutes of play. New Orleans committed 20 turnovers in the game. The Pelicans next face Memphis on Monday, August 3. Copyright 2020 WAFB. All rights reserved. Sign up for complex notifications for breaking news and stories. Image via Getty. Mike Coppola. Film magic. Since we're all probably in need of some wholesome content, Lisa Bonet is getting a lot of love on social media after her ex-husband Lenny Kravitz wished her current husband Jason Momoa a happy birthday on Saturday night. Happy birthday, Jason. One family. One love, Kravitz posted on Twitter, to which Momoa responded, "Love you, Ohana. Miss you." Despite separating almost 20 years ago, Bonet and Kravitz still maintain a very healthy friendship, as evident here with Kravitz having a great relationship with her new husband as well. Bonet and Kravitz, daughter Zoe Kravitz, also took to social media to wish Momoa a happy birthday. The two have a strong relationship with each other as well. Social media had a ball after seeing that Kravitz wished Momoa a happy birthday, with many praising how well Lisa Bonet has been able to foster such a loving family unity and, well, for just being her because she is amazing. Check out some reactions to Lenny Kravitz's birthday message and people just loving Lisa Bonet down below. Sign up for the Complex newsletter for breaking news, events, and unique stories. In a game that figured to have just as much drama as the bubble reopener, the Milwaukee Bucks fell to the Houston Rockets, 120-116. Milwaukee was mystified for a short while by the Rockets' fun-sized approach to NBA basketball, but eventually they were able to close the gap and keep things competitive throughout the fourth quarter. Giannis Antetokounmpo continued proving his case as the league's MVP, even if the case didn't need proving. His stat line, 36 points, 18 boards, 8 assists, was as impressive as it seems, but he had a series of poor decisions late in the fourth quarter that ended up swinging the game away from Milwaukee. Chris Middleton was a flamethrower in the first half, and ended the game at 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. For much of the game, the Bucks weren't getting much besides their two stars, but Brook Lopez, 23 points, 12 rebounds, eventually found his groove and started mashing the Rockets' defense in the post. DJ Wilson, who only played 7 minutes, was a crucial part of stabilizing the Bucks in the third quarter, when Milwaukee was struggling with Houston's small ball lineups. James Harden, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 steals, spent a long time struggling to find his range, but is too productive to be held down for long, even with 4 first-half fouls. Russell Westbrook, 31 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, continued to fuel the Rockets' frenzied play with his unique brand of organized chaos. As a team, Houston took a whopping 61 three-pointers, making 21. All in all, this was a game that the Bucks didn't need and the Rockets did desperately, and Mike Budenholzer was able to figure out a few lineup combinations that, especially in the playoffs, can help in certain situations. This loss is frustrating, as any loss is, but ultimately unimportant as long as the team learns from its mistakes. Stat that stood out, 22. There are so many that stand out from tonight's game, but the massive disparity in turnovers committed is what sunk Milwaukee in this one, particularly with a stretch of mind-boggling mistakes in the game's final moments. Houston did an excellent job caring for the ball on offense, and their lightning-quick hands on D swiped at the ball often enough to affect the Bucks' composure. A group including actor and former WWE star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has agreed to purchase the XFL for approximately $15 million, according to a news release issued Monday morning. The XFL declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy April 13 and has been seeking a buyer for the past 3 months, marketing itself as a made-for-TV product that could transition as early as 2021 to a bubble concept during the coronavirus pandemic. It is unclear when Johnson and his investors, who include his business partner and ex-wife, Danny Garcia, along with Redbird Capital Partners, plan to revive the league. The league has twice shuttered after one season, first in 2001, then earlier this year as a result of the pandemic, and there hasn't been a long-term alternative football league since the AFL forced a merger with the NFL in 1970. But XFL owner Vince McMahon had been a determined aspirant, investing $200 million in the league's second incarnation, one that promised to reimagine the game. Its 8 teams suspended play after 5 weeks, and the league laid off almost all its workforce April 10. McMahon considered bidding on the XFL himself early in the bankruptcy process but ultimately decided against it. In a statement, Johnson, 48, provided a glimpse of the McMahon-like flair he could bring to the league. The acquisition of the XFL with my talented partners, Danny Garcia and Jerry Cardinale, is an investment for me that's rooted deeply in 2 things: my passion for the game and my desire to always take care of the fans, said Johnson, who played football at the University of Miami from 1990 to 1994. With pride and gratitude for all that I've built with my own 2 hands, I plan to apply these calluses to the XFL and look forward to creating something special for the players, fans and everyone involved for the love of football. In a statement, XFL president and chief operating officer Jeffrey Pollack called the pending sale a Hollywood ending, and said Johnson's investors are a dream team ownership group and the XFL is in the best possible hands going forward. Cardinale is the managing partner and CEO of Redbird, which manages more than $4 billion in assets. Last week, it purchased a controlling interest in Toulouse Football Club, a French soccer team. In November, it invested $125 million in a new company that secures commercial rights for the NFL. Organizational plans for the newest version of the XFL are not yet clear. McMahon fired XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck on April 9, and Luck responded by suing McMahon for wrongful termination and is seeking $23.8 million. The lawsuit was on hold awaiting the results of bankruptcy. The league averaged 1.9 million television viewers per game and generated nearly $20 million in gross revenues in 2020, according to court filings. It had projected $46 million in gross revenues for the 10-game season, each data point exceeding internal expectations, according to sources. Russia is preparing to start a mass vaccination campaign against the coronavirus in October, the country's government has claimed. Health Minister Mikhail Murashko said clinical trials of a coronavirus vaccine candidate from the Moscow-based Gamaleya Institute were complete, Russian state news agency RIA reported Saturday. Moscow has claimed the test results showed an immune response in all subjects, with no side effects or complications. The laboratory behind the vaccine is now seeking regulatory approval for the drug, Murashko said according to RIA, and that this would be required before it could be used. Doctors and teachers would be the first to be vaccinated, he said, while mass vaccinations are planned for October. Meanwhile, Industry and Trade Minister Denis Mancharev told Russia's TASS news agency Monday that the country was expecting to manufacture several million doses of COVID-19 vaccines each month by the start of 2021. This acceleration of Russia's vaccine development could mean the country becomes the first in the world to inoculate people against the virus, a huge milestone in combating a pandemic that has claimed the lives of more than 689,000 people worldwide. It's a Sputnik moment for many people who didn't expect Russia to be the first, Kirill Dmitriev, CEO of Russia's RDIF Sovereign Wealth Fund, told Abu Dhabi newspaper The National last week. RDIF has been involved in funding the country's vaccine research. However, there has been much international skepticism surrounding Russia's vaccination efforts. White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci, for instance, has cast doubt on the approaches to testing in both Russia and China. I do hope that the Chinese and the Russians are actually testing the vaccine before they are administering the vaccine to anyone, Dr. Fauci said in a congressional hearing on the coronavirus crisis on Friday. I do not believe that there will be vaccines so far ahead of us that we will have to depend on other countries to get us vaccines. And Britain's Telegraph newspaper reported Saturday that London would likely reject Russia's COVID-19 vaccine due to doubts over the trial process. Russia has released no scientific data as to the safety and effectiveness of its vaccine. Last month, Russia was accused by officials in the US, Canada and Britain of trying to hack and steal coronavirus vaccine data. China has also been accused by Washington of hacking into the computer systems of firms working on a COVID-19 vaccine. For its part, the Kremlin has rejected the allegations, claiming they were not backed by proper evidence. Russia has the fourth highest number of coronavirus infection in the world, according to Johns Hopkins University data, with over 854,000 people having tested positive in the country. More than 14,000 have died from COVID-19, while around 649,000 have recovered after contracting the disease. It's been multiple months since both teams have been in action, but the Philadelphia 76ers are set to take the court against the Indiana Pacers at 7 p.m. ET on Saturday at Visa Athletic Center. The teams will square off in the first seeding game for either squad on Saturday night in the NBA bubble, with Indiana holding the fifth seed in the Eastern Conference and Philadelphia currently occupying the sixth playoff slot. Philadelphia is favored by 5 points in the latest Pacers vs. Sixers odds from William Hill. The over-under, or total number of points expected, is set at 217. Before entering any Sixers versus Pacers picks, you'll want to see the NBA predictions from the model at Sportsline. The Sportsline projection model simulates every NBA game 10,000 times, and it's already returned over $4,000 in profit on its top-rated NBA picks during the 2019-20 season. It also was a blistering 52-32 on all top-rated NBA spread picks before the coronavirus shutdown, returning almost $1,700 on those picks alone. Anybody who has followed it has seen huge returns. Now, the model has set its sights on Pacers versus Sixers. You can head to Sportsline to see its picks. Here are several NBA betting lines for 76ers versus Pacers. Indiana won 2 of the first 3 meetings with Philadelphia this season. The Pacers will be challenged to overcome the absence of Domantas Sabonis, who left the NBA bubble because of plantar fasciitis in his left foot. He was averaging 18.4 points per game and 12.4 rebounds per game. Miles Turner missed Thursday's scrimmage. But Victor Oladipo may be able to return after missing 52 games because of knee and quadriceps issues. He has practiced for the past 2 days. Oladipo has averaged 13.8 ppg this season. The Pacers need Oladipo to step forward, considering they were tied with Philadelphia at 22nd in points per game, 109.3 before the shutdown. They were 24th in the league in rebounding, 42.8 rpg, so the loss of Sabonis will certainly be felt in that department. Defense will be a key for Indiana, as they were tied for 4th in the NBA with Philadelphia, Milwaukee and Denver with 107.4 points allowed per game. Philadelphia returns to the playoff positioning battle with 2 of its key players ready to resume playing after missing time due to injuries. Ben Simmons was out of action because of a back injury before the shutdown. He will be fully ready to go on Saturday night. Simmons has averaged 16.7 ppg, 8.2 assists per game and 7.8 rpg this season. Joel Embiid missed the Sixers' last 2 scrimmages because of a calf problem but is expected to play against the Pacers. Embiid was not available in 21 of the Philadelphia's first 65 games because of various ailments. He averaged 23.4 ppg, and 11.8 rpg before the shutdown. The Sixers will need Embiid to stay healthy if they hope to make a strong playoff push. They won 29 of 31 home games this season and will now have to show they can prevail in neutral conditions. NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley are headed back to Earth after a 2-month mission at the International Space Station, marking the first time a privately owned craft will return astronauts from the space station to Earth. The crew departed the space station Saturday afternoon aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, the same craft that brought them to orbit in that vessel's first crewed flight. After leak checks, the astronauts lowered the visors of their helmets, and a command to undock was sent to the spacecraft at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 sets of hooks were disconnected, and then the capsule started to float slowly away from the space station around 7:35. Several engine thrusters fired to further separate the spacecraft from the space station. By 7:40, all that could be seen of the capsule from the space station view were 2 dots of light. "It's been an honor and a privilege," Hurley said on the communications system as the capsule drifted away from the space station. "It's been a great 2 months, and we appreciate all you've done as a crew to prove out Dragon on its maiden flight." The last major test for the capsule will come Sunday, when it is set to splash down at 2:41 p. Eastern Time in the Gulf of Mexico, near Pensacola, Florida. There were 7 possible landing sites along the Florida coast, 3 in the Atlantic Ocean or in the path of Tropical Storm Isaias. The splashdown will mark the first time in 45 years that astronauts have returned to space via an ocean landing. The last such landing came in July 1975, when an Apollo capsule splashed down in the Pacific Ocean during the Apollo-Soyuz test program mission. Since then, spacecraft have made landings on terra firma, NASA's space shuttle landed on a runway, and the Russian Soyuz capsule lands in Kazakhstan. A successful Sunday splashdown would cap off a test mission that has so far gone well for Hawthorne-based SpaceX. The Elon Musk-led company developed its Crew Dragon capsule under a NASA contract with the intent of one day ferrying NASA astronauts regularly to the space station. Aerospace stalwart Boeing Co. is also developing its own Starliner capsule under a NASA contract for this purpose. Let friends in your social network know what you are reading about. Adele is all here for Beyoncé's Black is King visual. The British artist shared a photo of herself to Instagram praising the project. A link has been sent to your friend's email address. A link has been posted to your Facebook feed. From her backyard to her best friends, we see many sides of Beyoncé in Black is King. The visual album is out now on Disney+. USA Today. Beyoncé's Black is King has just gained another fan, Adele. The 32-year-old British artist shared a rare Instagram photo of herself crouching down under a TV playing Black is King. Adele is raising her arm, drawing attention to the screen while wearing a brown shirt that matches Queen Bey's in the frame. "Thank you, Queen, for always making us all feel so loved through your art," Adele captioned the post, adding 2 black heart emojis. On Friday, Beyoncé released the visual companion piece, now streaming on Disney+, to The Lion King, The Gift soundtrack, which she produced after starring as Nala in the 2019 Disney remake. Black is King explored the beauty of blackness while retelling young Simba's quest through self-identity. Adele's twinning photo almost immediately became the trending topic of the day on Twitter, with many adoring the "Set Fire to the Rain" artist's love for Beyoncé. "Thank you, Queen, for always making us all feel so loved through your art, heart heart." A post shared by Adele at Adele on August 1, 2020 at 11:09 a.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. Adele might forget to post about her new music, but she would never forget to show her love and support for Beyoncé. Her admiration is so real and authentic. Tweeted at Queen Adel's Lays. The artist's last album, 25, was released in 2015. "If it's one thing Adele gonna do, she gonna love her some Beyoncé," wrote at _Barsday lyricist. User at AyubJabbar3 wrote, "Adele and Beyoncé is an endless love story. This isn't the first time, and probably won't be the last, that Adele has shown her support for the Love on Top artist." More, Black is King. Beyoncé dedicates celebration of Black beauty, retelling of Lion King, to son. When Adele won a Grammy for Album of the Year in 2017, her acceptance speech was mostly about how the honor should have gone to Beyoncé for Lemonade. While she appreciated the win, she noted that she can't possibly accept this award. "And I'm very humbled, and I'm very grateful and gracious, but my artist of my life is Beyoncé, and this album for me, the Lemonade album, was just so monumental. Beyoncé, it was so monumental, and so well thought out and so beautiful and soul-bearing," she said. "And we all got to see another side to you that you don't always let us see, and we appreciate that, and all us artists here adore you. You are our light, and the way that you make me and my friends feel, the way you make my Black friends feel, is empowering, and you make them stand up for themselves. And I love you. I always have, and I always will." The Houston Rockets got one of the biggest wins in the NBA bubble, beating the Milwaukee Bucks, 122-116, on Sunday. Though the game was sloppy and riddled with fouls and turnovers, typical signs of teams warming up after a long layoff, there could be one important takeaway: the Rockets exposing the Bucks' three-point defense. The Bucks didn't help themselves by turning the ball over 22 times and allowing 31 free throws, but they were hurt from the outside by the Rockets, who were happy to fire away from three. It may have been the big difference in this game. The Bucks are the NBA's best defense, with a defensive rating, points allowed per 100 possessions, of 101.8. Much of that is built around their elite rim protection. The Bucks have allowed opponents to shoot just 57% from 6 feet or closer. The second-best team, the Toronto Raptors, have allowed 57% shooting from that distance. The Bucks focus on taking away the easiest shots, to great success. Their three-point defense comes at the expense of those efforts. Because Milwaukee packs the paint, it invites shooters to launch from the outside. It's not as if the Bucks simply allow threes. As Mike Prada wrote for SB Nation in December, Milwaukee attempts to take away corner threes, the easiest shots from behind the arc, and allows iffy shooters more space on, above the break, threes, the hardest, deepest shots. They still contest three-point shots. Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer. David Zalabowski AP Images. But while the Bucks allow opponents to shoot just 35.5% from deep, a solid number, they also grant 38.7 three-pointers per game, the most in the NBA. As a result, they also allow the most three-pointers made per game. This strategy bit them in last year's Eastern Conference Finals against the Toronto Raptors. After losing the first two games of the series, Toronto started launching from deep. Over the first two games, both Bucks wins, the Raptors averaged 12.5 made threes on 37 attempts per game, 33.8%. Over the next four games, all Raptors wins, Toronto averaged 15.3 made threes on 39 attempts, 39%. The series flipped, in part, because the Raptors got hot from the outside, and the Bucks didn't adjust. The Rockets and Bucks have some similarities in their approaches. Both are built around dynamic offensive players in Giannis Antetokounmpo and James Harden, and they surround those stars with shooters to spread the floor and create more space. They focus their offenses on shots at the basket and three-pointers, the two most efficient field goals in basketball. So, these two teams present an interesting strategic battle when they face off. They both hunt the same shots and largely try to deny their preferred shots on the other end. On Sunday, the Rockets hit 21 of 61 shots from three-point range. While 34.4% shooting isn't ideal, the sheer volume made a difference, particularly with the Rockets shooting just 39% from the field overall. A handful of stocks kicked off August on Monday with hefty July gains in the bag. L Brands, AMD, Pulte Group, Whirlpool, Hanesbrand and Qualcomm were among the top performers last month, sporting double-digits percentage gains compared with a 6% increase for the S&P 500. Nancy Tengler, Chief Investment Officer at Laffer Tengler Investments, said chipmaker Qualcomm has the best chances in the group to continue its rally. This is a semi that has not kept up in the multi-year rally we just experienced. They had a great quarter, they raised guidance, they've got Huawei contracts, they've got a 5G handsets. But more important to us, valuation is still attractive, Tengler told CNBC's Trading Nation on Friday. Qualcomm has added 67% in the past 5 years, while the SMH Semiconductor ETF has rallied 220%. Tengler is looking to relative dividend yield and its relative price-to-sales ratio as proof of potential for Qualcomm. The stock has a 2.5% dividend yield, while the SMH ETF yields 1.3%. We think the dividend is safe, we think they can grow the dividend, said Tengler. It's cheaper than in many of the others in our work. So we added to it last month, and we're going to continue to hold it. Craig Johnson, Chief Market Technician at Piper Sandler, prefers a different stock in the group. We like Whirlpool. This is a stock that has reversed a downtrend going back to the 2017 highs. You've broken above your 2019 highs. It still looks like to us you've got about 16% to maybe about 24% upside up to the next kind of resistance levels around $188 and $200 on the chart, he said during the same Trading Nation segment. Whirlpool is up 26% in the past month and 45% in 3 months. Shares hit a 52-week high last week. Disclosure: Laffer Tengler Investments holds Qualcomm. Two long-lost siblings found an unexpected reunion at a rehabilitation center after searching for one another for 53 years. Doris Crippen, a 73-year-old woman in Nebraska, tested positive for the coronavirus in May, according to the Washington Post. After getting weaker and weaker because of the coronavirus, Crippen fell off her bed and broke her arm, the Washington Post reported. After she battled coronavirus and tested negative, she was hospitalized at Dunklau Gardens, a local rehabilitation center and nursing home roughly an hour away from Lincoln. Over 2 decades, Crippen's half-sister, Bev Borrow, a 53-year-old medication aide, had worked at Dunklau Gardens, according to CNN. One day, Borrow came across Crippen's name on the patient chart, CNN said. "I thought, oh my God, I think this is my sister," CNN reported. On June 27, Boro reached out to confirm with Crippen that they were sisters, CNN reported. The now reunited sisters were born to the same father, but different mothers, and have not seen each other for the duration of Boro's 53 years in life, according to CNN. The Washington Post reported that the two both grew up in Nebraska and endlessly searched for each other, before they reunited because of coronavirus. Crippen called all the pain she's suffered since being infected with the coronavirus as a blessing, because it brought her to her family, the Washington Post reported. This makes up for everything, Crippen told the Post, as she held her sister's hand. Storm slowly moves along Florida's east coast. Florida is still out of the cone of Tropical Storm Isaias. Orlando, Florida. Isaias is near hurricane strength early Monday as it approaches the Carolinas, just a day after bands of heavy rain from the tropical storm lashed Florida's east coast as state officials dealt with surging cases of the coronavirus. Follow below for updates. 5:20 a.m. Isaias is forecast to strengthen back to a hurricane on a path toward the Carolinas. The 5 a.m. update from the National Hurricanes shows the eye of the storm sitting off central Florida, heading north at 9 miles per hour. The tropical storm is packing 70 miles per hour winds, with gusts of 85 miles per hour. 5 a.m. Monday. Isaias weakened from a hurricane to a tropical storm Saturday but still hit Florida with heavy rain and some flooding, although central Florida was spared of any damage. The National Hurricane Service said early Monday that the storm was centered about 330 miles south of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The storm was moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. Both North and South Carolina could see up to 6 inches of rain, storm surge and possible tornadoes Monday. 11 p.m. SUNDAYAs of 11 p.m. on Sunday. Tropical Storm Isaias has shifted more to the east and Florida is still out of the cone. The National Hurricane Center said Tropical Storm Isaias is expected to be near hurricane strength when it reaches the Carolinas. 8 p.m. Meteorologists said the tropical storm continues to move north-northwestward just offshore of the east-central Florida coast. 4:45 p.m. The latest update from the National Hurricane Center shows Florida is out of the cone. Tropical Storm Isaias is about 65 miles southeast of Cape Canaveral and is moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds are at 70 miles per hour. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Sebastian Inlet to Ocracoke Inlet, North Carolina. 4 p.m. The shelter that opened at Vieira Regional Community Center in Brevard County Sunday morning has closed after only one person showed up. Steps were taken to address that residents' needs. 3:30 p.m. The last remaining open shelter in Volusia County closed because no one showed up. 2:15 p.m. Flagler County officials announced that they will not order evacuations or open shelters because they expect the impacts from the storm to be relatively minimal. Emergency management leaders are on standby and ready to change their plans should that be needed. We always prepare for the worst, and modify those plans as information updates, said Emergency Management Director Jonathan Lord. The forecasted weather has improved, and it doesn't warrant opening a shelter. 2 p.m. The latest update from the National Hurricane Center, issued just before 2 p.m. Sunday, showed Isaias 90 miles southeast of Cape Canaveral while moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. It continues to move slowly off the east-central Florida coast with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, allowing it to keep its tropical storm status. 1 p.m. Val Kilmer has opened up about overcoming speaking challenges following his battle with throat cancer. Kilmer, 60, underwent a tracheotomy as a result of the disease several years ago, and though communication has now become difficult, he insists it's just like any other challenge he had to tackle. "I'm doing great. I feel a lot better than I sound," Val told Good Morning America in an interview which aired Monday. "You have to figure out a way to communicate." Val Kilmer has opened up about overcoming speaking challenges following his battle with throat cancer. "It's just like any other language or dialect," Val explained. "You have to figure out a way to communicate. That's no different than any other acting challenge, but it's just a very unique set of circumstances." Val previously told the morning show he healed quickly from cancer, and now uses the tracheotomy to help him breathe due to the swelling of his throat glands. Val also discussed working with his daughter Mercedes Kilmer, 28, who is making her big screen debut in the upcoming thriller Paydirt, set for release August 7th. "In good spirits. I'm doing great. "I feel a lot better than I sound," Val told Good Morning America in an interview which aired Monday. Health Update. Val previously told the morning show he healed quickly from cancer, and now uses the tracheotomy to help him breathe due to the swelling of his throat glands. The film sees Kilmer play a retired sheriff tracking down a parolee searching for buried money. Mercedes plays his daughter, Jamie. Appearing in the interview virtually, Mercedes said she was proud to be in the film as it starred a disability actor, her father. "I'm so proud to have been in this film and to have worked on this film, like not just because my dad is my actual dad, but because I know you don't really lead with this, but you do have now a disability with your voice. And it really meant a lot to me to be able to be involved in this film that centers a disabled actor, or an actor with a disability." Family Business. Kilmer stars opposite his daughter Mercedes Kilmer in the upcoming action film, Pay Dirt. Art Imitates Life. Mercedes plays Kilmer's daughter Jamie in the film Pay Dirt as just one of numerous films Kilmer will be starring in the coming years, including the highly anticipated sequel, Top Gun: Maverick. Kilmer will be returning to his role of Iceman, but declined to share any details about the film during his GMA interview. "All I can tell you about the film is that my hair is not the same length," Kilmer said. Iceman has not become Ice Monk. On top of his movie career, Kilmer has been back in the spotlight this last year with the release of his memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry, where he details his battle with cancer. Wilford Brimley, who worked his way up from stunt performer to starring roles in films such as Cocoon and The Natural, has died. He was 85. Brimley's manager Linda Bensky said the actor died Saturday morning in a Utah hospital. He was on dialysis and had several medical ailments, she said. The mustached Brimley was a familiar face for a number of roles, often playing gruff characters like his grizzled baseball manager in The Natural. Brimley's best-known work was in Cocoon, in which he was part of a group of seniors who discover an alien pod that rejuvenates them. The 1985 Ron Howard film won 2 Oscars, including a supporting actor honor for Don Amici. Brimley also starred in Cocoon: The Return, a 1988 sequel. For years he was a pitchman for Quaker Oats and in recent years appeared in a series of diabetes spots that turned him at one point into a social media sensation. Wilford Brimley was a man you could trust, Bensky said in a statement. He said what he meant and he meant what he said. He had a tough exterior and a tender heart. I'm sad that I will no longer get to hear my friends' wonderful stories. He was one of a kind. Though never nominated for an Oscar or Emmy Award, Brimley amassed an impressive list of credits. In 1993's John Grisham adaptation, The Firm, Brimley starred opposite Tom Cruise as a tough-nosed investigator who deployed ruthless tactics to keep his law firm's secrets safe. A Utah native, Brimley's Hollywood career started in the late 1960s as a stuntman, where he forged a friendship with Robert Duvall. Duvall's encouragement led Brimley to seek more prominent acting roles, and his career took off after his appearance in 1979's The China Syndrome, according to a biography prepared by Turner Classic Movies. Brimley had a recurring role as a blacksmith on The Waltons, and the 1980s primetime series, Our House. In recent years, Brimley's pitch work for Liberty Mutual had turned him into an internet sensation for his drawn-out pronunciation of diabetes as diabetes. He owned the pronunciation in a tweet that drew hundreds of thousands of likes earlier this year. Brimley is survived by his wife, Beverly, and 3 sons. He was so tired near the end, it hurt him to laugh. He had to fight for the energy just to fight the cancer, which was especially unfair. And yet until the final 2 weeks, he did his radio show, told stories with his friends, played with his kids and made everyone around him feel okay. Jamie Samuelson always stuck to the script, the most patient, compassionate, selfless person I've ever known. He didn't stray from his principles, not even when the cancer took over. He never lost his hair or his spirit or his humor. You'd never know he spent 19 months fighting for his life, crisscrossing the country with his wonderful wife, Christy, seeking treatments. He didn't want people to know because he was afraid they'd treat him differently. But you should know how strong and courageous Jamie was. He fought like hell and never caught one damn break. The cancer wouldn't let go and he had every reason to be angry and confused, but I never heard him complain. Who gets colon cancer at 47, and then dies at 48? The recommended age for getting a colonoscopy is 50 and older, and Jamie spent many of his final breaths urging people to schedule the procedure earlier. Who gets colon cancer when they're perfectly healthy? A runner, a modest eater, a non-smoker. Cancer is devious and horrible in all its forms, to all the people it affects. Cancer doesn't follow a script, and that's what really sucks, because Jamie and his family did everything right to try to beat it. Jamie is far from alone with this last question, unfortunately, but it has to be asked. How do you spend the final 4 months of your life ravaged by cancer and sequestered by COVID at the same time? How does someone who is all goodness and kindness get confined to his home, doing his show from the basement? Closer to his family, farther from the world. He kept doing it, morning after morning, even when it was hard to climb the stairs. Stick to the script, follow the plan. More, Greg Brady. Radio shows aren't meant to last, but I could have worked with Jamie Samuelson forever. When Jamie came to Detroit in 1994 after graduating from Northwestern, he was fresh-faced and earnest, with a big head of hair that never thinned and never grayed. I worked with him at 97.1 The Ticket, and at WDFN before that, for 25 years. He's been a staple on the Fox 2 Lions pregame shows and on Sunday night roundtables with Dan Miller, me and others. He was my on-air partner for 4 years, and then made the leap back to mornings with another former radio partner, Mike Stone. Classic pairing. Jamie and Stoney were classy and funny and successful, and you can tell what Jamie meant to the audience by the response to his passing. I've tried to read all the social media posts and answer the texts and phone calls, but I can't keep up and can't keep my eyes dry. Christy said she is overwhelmed, and the family watched tearfully as the Tigers put Jamie's picture on the Comerica Park video screen Sunday during a moment of silence. New York. Aaron Judge's start to the 2020 regular season is no longer just hot, it's historic. The Yankees' right fielder homered twice on Sunday night, going deep in his 5th consecutive game. Both were go-ahead homers, a 3-run blast in the second inning and a game-winning 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th to clinch a 9-7 victory over the Red Sox. Judge stepped up to the plate in the 8th in a tie game with DJ LeMahieu standing on first. After getting ahead to a 2-0 count, Boston's right-hander Matt Barnes served up a hanging knuckle curveball over the plate. Judge demolished it. "Right now, it's just about not missing my pitch," Judge said. "Pitchers are making really good pitches, hitting their corners, but when there's times when they leave one over the plate, I've got to do some damage on it. Fortunately enough, I've been able to do that a couple of times early on." His 6th home run of the season flew 468 feet, soaring beyond the visitors' bullpen in left center field at Yankee Stadium. It left his bat at 107.4 miles per hour, according to StatCast. Earlier, Judge had launched a 419-foot bomb with an exit velocity of 107.9 miles per hour. His first moonshot of the night touched down in the second deck down the left field line. "He doesn't look like he's doing too much," LeMahieu said. "Really calm, easy, confident, and obviously his talent speaks for himself. When you put all those factors together, he is where he is and he's a dangerous hitter." Red, Masahiro Tanaka makes first start since line drive off head, paves way to victory over Red Sox on Saturday with his 6th long ball of the season. Judge took the lead for the most home runs in Major League Baseball thus far in 2020. It was the 10th multi-homer game of Judge's career and just the 2nd time he's driven in 5 runs in a single game at the big league level. "He's healthy and he's a stud," first baseman Luke Voigt said. "There's a reason he almost won the MVP, in 17. He's in a groove right now and I'm excited to see what he can do in 60 games this year with how he's raking right now. It's a guy that you don't want to take your eyes off when he's hitting." 6 homers in 5 games puts Judge in historic company within the sport's most storied franchise. Judge is just the 10th Yankee to ever homer in 5 consecutive games and first to do so since Alex Rodriguez in 2007. Only Don Mattingly 8 straight, Roger Maris 6 straight, and Lou Gehrig 6 straight, have produced longer streaks in Yankees history. The last player in pinstripes to hit 6 home runs in a span of 5 games was Alex Rodriguez back in September of 2007, he had 7 in that stretch. Further, Judge and Rodriguez are now the only Yankees ever to hit 6 long balls across the Bombers' first 8 games of a season. On Saturday, Judge joined Mark Teixeira 2011, Jorge Posada 2001, Yogi Berra 1956, Gehrig 1932, Babe Ruth 1921, and Rodriguez is the 7th Yankee to hit 4 in the club's first 7 contests.